Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Tune In Tuesdays. It's our fourth show of the day, and this is Season 2, Episode 8 of the Patriots podcast. And we stream live every Tuesday right here from the America First Warehouse at 7:30. Thank you for tuning in. So this week, on the heels of last week's episode with Mickey Whithoff, which is the mother of Ashley Babbitt, who we had on last week for a very heartfelt interview, and our discussion of January 6, 2021, and the stolen election, the Patriots are very happy to introduce tonight's guest, who's joining us remotely, and that's Dr. John Eastman. So hi, Dr. Eastman. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on your show. This is, like I said, a much better view than The View.
Thank you. We take that as a big compliment.
Thank you for that.
And it was a pleasure to meet you in person at CPAC, and we're so excited to have you here next week at the America First Warehouse. So we have a lot to talk about. Dr. Eastman has been through a lot, and he's going to tell us about that. And Donna has some questions to start with.
John, for those who might not know you, we would like you to tell us a little bit about your background. We certainly understand that you had put in some major efforts to block the certification of the 2020 election, and that you were the law clerk for Justice Clarence Thomas. But we're all also wondering, what is it that led you to undertake that thing? What did you find? What did you see? What kind of evidence of fraud that made you determine this is something I want to do, this is something that's important? Because you've certainly sacrificed a lot for it.
Well, the president called me and asked me to take it on. That's a hard no to give. But no, I had been watching. I'm a constitutional scholar and a litigator. I've had over 200 cases in the Supreme Court that I've been involved with on major constitutional questions. And I was called as an expert before the Florida legislature back in 2000, that last big controversial election we had. The Constitution's pretty clear. The power to direct the manner for choosing presidential electors is vested exclusively in the state legislatures. And what I was observing in all of the swing states was county clerks, secretaries of state, state court trial judges altering those rules or ignoring those rules. And that meant we had an illegal election, an unconstitutional election.
Yep.
And it was also pretty clear that if that were to happen, the state legislatures had the authority to do something about it. That was expressly written into the statutes that Congress had passed at the time. If a failed election, then it goes to the legislature to decide what to do about it. And so that was what we were looking at. The evidence of illegality was clear. How much that illegality led to outright fraud was what the controversy was about. But even if there was no fraud, the fact that it was an illegal election was enough to render it a failed election. They got rid of signature verification in Pennsylvania. They weakened it to non-existence in Georgia. They opened the door for fraud in nursing homes in Wisconsin, and people walked through that door because we went from nearly 25% historic average of turnout in nursing homes to nearly 100%, including in memory care wings. And a lot of the ballots were in exactly the same handwriting. The TCF Center and the illegality there, blocking access to observers and the campaigns. All of that was clear-cut illegality, and as I said, it opened the door for fraud. To this day, there are more than 100,000 ballots in Pennsylvania, more than there are voters. And that discrepancy was never reconciled, and yet the Secretary of State of Pennsylvania continues to lie about it on her website. So, the Democrats were coordinating with the elected officials. In my bar trial, by the way, I think what is the longest and most expensive bar disciplinary proceeding in history. It lasted 10 weeks, cost me over $750,000. But one of the questions they asked me was, what evidence do you have that they were colluding with each other? I said, well, the Deputy Secretary of State sent an email around to all counties at 8:38 p.m. on Monday night before the election saying they were essentially going to ignore the law and give advance notice of disqualified ballots. But the Democrats were advertising for workers to help with that ballot curing program 3 days before that message went out. So this was the takeover of county clerk's offices in Green Bay, Wisconsin. and Milwaukee, the illegal drop boxes in Wisconsin. All of this stuff contributed to an extraordinary theft of an election, in my view. And we've gotten to the point in our politics where you're not, if it was for Trump, you're not allowed to say that. They go after you with everything they've got.
Well, hopefully we're at the dawn of a new day, and
Amen.
transparency and truth will come. But when you tried to encourage and counsel Mike Pence that he had that authority and there was enough proof and evidence to not certify that election, and you were met with complete obvious resistance, what was that journey like and that experience like? And how do you think, and can you recommend that we avoid this happening again?
Well, one thing is I'm looking forward to a future unburdened by what has been to
Yes,
paraphrase
us too.
the losing candidate. Look, there was very little discussion at the federal convention in 1787 about all this. But the one thing that was quite clear was that the founders did not want Congress having a role in the selection of the president, because that would make the presidency subservient to the legislative branch and it would destroy separation of powers. Right. Yeah. And so how do you deal with that? Well, they created an electoral college. Well, what do you do with their disputes? You're gonna hang around for 6 months while the mule trains get back to Boston and find out what their real view is? Well, if it's a tie election, it goes to the House, but they don't vote by members. They vote by states, the closest thing to a federalism or a states' rights solution we could get. But in my view, the vice president, not a member of the legislative branch, was given the authority to resolve disputes. And if you look at the language of the original Article 2 and the repeated language in the 12th Amendment, it says the vice president opens all the ballots in the presence of the House and Senate, and then they get counted. The House and Senate are there to be present. They weren't there to have any active role. And the notion that our founders created an office like vice president but deprived it of any judgment-making ability in a contested dispute is kind of silly. It just doesn't understand the Fallon. And it wasn't just me that's saying this illegality was a problem. State legislators in each of these contested states were sending letters to Pence saying our election was illegally conducted and should not have been certified. Give us a little bit of time to assess the impact of that illegality. And then, if the impact is smaller than Biden's margin, we'll let you know that. And the American people will feel more comfortable saying, yeah, Biden actually did win the election. But if the illegality is greater than that margin, and we can determine that but for the illegality, Trump actually won, doesn't consent of the governed require that they certify Trump instead? Right. I mean, the consent of the governed is one of the cornerstone principles of our system of government. Yes, and they deprived us of it, or they at least deprived us of being able to ascertain the truth about all that.
That's right.
Yep.
Wow.
So what are your recommendations for people moving forward? How can American people make sure that we don't encounter this again?
Well, there were two things that happened in 2024 that I think explain the difference. One, people were so angry about 2020 and incensed by what they saw that there were millions of pairs of eyes on every step of the process. And I think that helped immensely in minimizing some of the retail fraud. If there's 28 people registered in an efficiency apartment down the street and there are not 28 people that live there and they're all voting, then those roles were getting corrected and people were afraid that they would get criminally prosecuted if they engaged in that kind of blatant fraud. The second thing is unique to Trump, and that is too big to rig. I don't think that would have happened but for the left's attacks on him over the last 4 years and the American people saying enough. Now, that's not a circumstance that's likely to get repeated in 4 years. So we've got to fix the election problems. In my view, we've got to get rid of untraceable ballot chains of custody that exist through black box machines that we're not allowed to look at the code and what have you. I think we've got to get rid of having elections that run a month or a month and a half before election day. I'll let overseas military people vote remotely, but beyond that, I'm sorry. If you can't take enough trouble to go vote, then you ought not to be having a say in how this country gets directed.
100%.
This is an obligation of citizenship, and we ought to go back to same-day voting. We ought to go back to voter ID so that whoever's casting that vote is who's legally allowed to cast that vote. and fix the problems. And I know members of Congress are looking at doing just those kind of things.
Good.
Thank God.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, you certainly suffered a lot, and we know you've been persecuted very harshly. And we're sorry for that, and we thank you for your willingness to continue to fight and stand. And we're here to support you. You have some new things coming up, right?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've got, the lawfare is not over yet. Even though Fonnie Willis has been disqualified down in Georgia, they're still prosecuting the case. It's stunning to me. They did not ask for a stay of the disqualification order while they appealed that, but they're challenging other parts, like there were dismissal of some of the counts, and they're filing appeals of those, and without any authority. In Arizona, we uncovered that the attorney general there had hired this rabid anti-Trump group called States United Democracy Center, the same group that filed the bar complaint against me. She hired them to do the prosecution strategy for her. That's like hiring the fox to do the safety memo for your chicken coop. I mean, it's just utterly insane. But we did have 2 weeks ago now a major victory, and that is the first step of a two-step process for getting the case dismissed. I had to show that my First Amendment rights were being infringed, and that the prosecution was substantially motivated by a purpose of retaliating against or deterring those rights. And the judge said, yeah, you've met that burden, and now the state has to prove that politics wasn't at play. I think that's going to be very hard for them to prove. So we'll see what happens. But more importantly than what happens to me is States United and the 65 Project and these other left-wing groups that are targeting all the lawyers involved. They've made very clear their goal is not just to get us disbarred or criminally prosecuted, but to scare the heck out of any other lawyer that would stand up and challenge a government narrative, whether on CRT or men playing in your girls' swim meets or exposing themselves in the locker rooms or election challenges. How dare you challenge the government? We're the government and we know better than you do what the truth is, and we'll just tell you. And you've got to come to believe that truth, not just repeat it, or we're going to destroy you. And that's why I fight as hard as I do, because that's not the kind of country I want to leave for my kids and my grandkids to clean up.
Amen.
I want to leave them some of the freedoms we inherited, at least some of them, for heaven's sakes.
Yes. Well, we're all freedom fighting activists up here, and we really commend you because we know
Yeah.
not as hard as you do, but we really understand your sacrifice for us and our country and our children and our grandchildren. I want to thank you for that.
And thank you for putting yourself on the line for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, LA Times wanted to do a feature story on us 2 Christmases ago about how devastated I was. And I said, I don't know where you're getting that. Our country's on the precipice of losing the wonderful freedoms that we inherited. And for whatever reason, I've been cast into a frontline role in this battle. I can't imagine a place that's more important. I at one point I said, I can't imagine a place I'd rather be. My wife was with me. She said, oh, I can. Paris, the Bahamas, all sorts of places.
Well,
But
perhaps you were
I can't
born for such a
imagine
time
a
as
place
this.
more important to be than fighting this battle so that our kids don't have to.
Thank God for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, what happens now with the disbarment? If that goes through with the courts in Georgia, would that come? The disbarment go away? Would that change for you?
Well, it unfortunately is before the California Bar Court, and it is so skewed politically
I bet.
that the commentators that were watching the trial kept using the phrase "the kangaroo court." I won't. I won't attribute that to myself, but one just needs to watch what went on there and come to their own conclusions. We're now before the review court. The California Bar Court judges themselves don't have the authority to actually disbar me. Only the California Supreme Court can do that. But there was a recommendation of disbarment, and that in California law put me on an inactive role pending the appeals. And they've dragged the appeals out now for nearly a year. While I've been on inactive. So I can't practice in the California courts, but the U.S. Supreme Court is letting me still practice there, and that's where most of my practice is.
Good.
I mean, just think about
phenomenal lawyer still active.
just think about that. I can practice at the U.S. Supreme Court, but not the Superior Court of Los Angeles. For
Well,
heaven's
that's the
sake, this
psychosis
is
of
utter
the left.
nonsense.
Yeah, it's up is
Yeah.
down and what's down is up.
It
Everything
is.
completely
upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is you have a great documentary, which I can't wait to watch next Monday night here at the America First Warehouse, and that is the Eastman Dilemma. And we will be showing that here. And we encourage all of our audience, if you're not able to be here next Monday, to please find it. John, where can they find that documentary if they're not watching it here?
So right now it's still available for free streaming at eastmandilemma.com. It won't be there for long because it's going to go up on one of the paid streaming platforms soon. But I mean, this thing premiered January 4th down at Mar-a-Lago, and then it went live publicly January 6th. But at the premiere at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump came to watch it with us,
Amazing.
and he had Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Secretary of State designate Marco Rubio. Scott Bessent was there. Mike Waltz was there. I mean, it was a
I
tremendous
love
evening.
that they were supporting you. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So,
was
and where
wonderful.
can they, just before we wrap up, where can they donate to your legal defense fund?
So givesendgo.com/Eastman. People can go there. They can send money. They can send prayers. They can also read the updates we post there. When there are articles written about what I'm dealing with that seem to get it, we post those links and people can arm themselves with the actual information rather than being filtered by the fake narrative in the media.
Excellent. All right. So if any of you tuning in, you want to help him, obviously they tried to bankrupt you, that's what their MO is. And we will be doing again next Monday night here. You can come down and donate and join us for the March 3rd event here. John, we're excited to have you with us next week. I know we'll see you Sunday at the Queens Village Republican Club, and then you'll be here with us at the warehouse. And I think you're going to love it here, and we're excited to have you. So we wish you all the best. You'll be in our prayers. We have so much gratitude for all the work you've done for our country. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
It's going to be great fun. I'm looking forward to seeing that operation you all run there at First
It's
America
quite
Warehouse. It
interesting.
looks
You're
great
gonna love
fun.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you, and we hope you have a great night, and we will be rooting for you and keeping you in our
Yeah.
prayers.
Thank you so much for joining.
Very good. Thank you all
Thank you,
very
Thank you,
much.
Dr.
Take
Eastman.
care.
Take care.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, many of you remember me as Hercules, facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. Well, today, I'm stepping into a different role. Not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you, ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org. Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com.
little bit about CPAC. Teresa was at CPAC this past week, and I know that you had quite the experience.
It was awesome. I mean, really, I wish you were all with me. Last year I got to go with Allison, and then all the 4 people back there I've been to CPAC with. We got Gary McBride, James Justice, Ernie, the 3 guys I was with this weekend, and some of our crew, Joe the Box and Matthew and Johnny. It was awesome. It is like, I hate to use the word Disney World, but because we all hate Disney World, but it really is like being in Disney World. Like, it's like instead of seeing like Mickey Mouse walk by you, you like Tom Holman walks by you and Gorka walks by you, and it's just like, the first day I was a little like a kid in a candy shop. I was like, you saw my post. I was like, CPAC just waved at us, and it's just like, it's just awesome. It's
Every
like,
time you would post something, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of FOMO.
I really, I would love to come with, it would be my dream for all of
Next year.
us to
Next
be
year, I'm
together.
booking my ticket.
Next year's in
Even if it's
Texas.
just a donation, I'm booking it.
It's awesome. I'm going to buy the ticket too, whatever. It's right now, it's $47 on cpac.org, I think, /Texas.
For the general admission.
For the general, which really, honestly,
47?
It's $47, which is awesome. Good number. And it really gets you in like all the days, like the general admission, and it's awesome because when you come in, for all of you that don't know, you have media row, you have radio row now because I guess they're really like honing in on the influencers and the podcasters, which is awesome. Because maybe next year we'll just have a booth.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
wait a minute, hold on, I just came up with an idea. Look for us at CPAC 26 in Texas, the Patriots podcast on Radio Row. And then you have Media Row, so you have your Real America's Voice and Newsmax and all these podcasters, Lindell TV. And then you have the main room, the main stage where we got to see Trump and Elon Musk and Tom Holman. I couldn't even, everybody that you could think of was there. I was praying Cash would walk in one of the days, but we happened to be in the room when they announced that Cash was confirmed, so the whole room went crazy, and that was really
That's
awesome.
Really awesome.
I can't even pick a favorite part. It was just, I was there to really work, though. A lot of people were there to enjoy the conference. I was like crippled when I got home, but it was really, we made great connections. I recommend anybody who is a big Patriot and loves being a conservative and being in the know, it's just the greatest place to go and be. And I don't want you to have FOMO next year when you come with me.
And you got to spend time with all the J6ers.
We
at the
did, and that
J6
was,
house, right?
well, unfortunately, we never made it over there until the last day.
Oh, okay.
No, until the last day, but the guys did, and but a lot of the J6ers were at CPAC. It was great to see Enrique Tarrio.
Is it true that they were getting kicked out?
So one did, and I don't know if I even have the full story right. Gary would know. I just think it was a miscommunication of why he rented the booth, and then he was like interviewing people is what I heard, but I don't want to give misinformation.
Yeah.
It was one guy that did, but many of the J6ers were there, and it really was heartwarming at times because I really feel like this was probably their first big thing to go to since they were pardoned, and you're in a place where everybody there supports you finally,
right.
where you've been outcasted as a criminal insurrectionist for the past 4 years.
Well, and it's got to be overwhelming, too, because they have
They
been
were.
in prison for so long.
Somewhere.
You go from a
Right?
prisoner
Yeah.
to like a hero
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a place like that.
They really were, and everybody wanted to picture them. I mean, everyone that I got to meet wants to come on the podcast, tell their story. I love that. I told them they always have a home here at the warehouse, and they can always come tell their story at the podcast, on our podcast. So that was another part of it. There was just so many moving pieces.
You know what? I don't want to interrupt you, but I did want to tell this story because now that we're talking
Yeah,
about the
please.
J6ers. Last week, most of you know, we had Mickey Whithoff on, which is Ashley Babbitt's mom, and we opened it up to have a live audience. And after we finished up wrapping up the podcast, we went and we spoke to the people in the audience that we didn't know personally. And there was a woman here. Her name was Sarah. Carter? Is it Carter?
No, not Carter.
No.
Sarah, it's
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
Yep.
Thank
Thank you. And she had just been released from prison. She was pardoned by President Trump. And she's from Queens, drove all the way out from Queens
Ex-NYPD.
And
Yep, to come to our podcast and support Mickey. She's ex-NYPD and 9/11
responder.
first responder. And they threw her in a prison in Alabama
Well, that's what they did, and
to keep them from their families.
They did,
I
and not only did
imagine.
they do that, they also quite often moved them in the middle of the night all over the country. They were just in the middle of the night. Gary, am I right? I'm right?
It's a form of torture.
It is.
It's another kind of
It's a
mental
mind-
torture and
yeah.
punishment.
No access to family, no access to attorneys.
It's
nothing.
awful.
And
Yeah.
this is someone, again, NYPD, 9/11 first responder, and this is how they chose to treat someone like this just for being at the Capitol on January 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still so misunderstood. We were saying this last week that even some of these people, their own family members, are still harshly judging them
Yes.
and
Mhm.
ostracizing them for
Yeah.
their decision that day.
Yeah,
just to be
just to go.
present.
Yep.
Just to be present. So wrong in so many ways. So I don't think we can shed enough light
No,
on
we
that
can't.
day.
Right.
Now's the time to really say the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I know we'd asked her to come on the podcast, and I think she's just trying to find her voice,
When
right?
she's
Right
ready.
now,
Yeah.
and when she's ready, she will be on.
It's like PTSD, which she said she already,
Oh,
or
yeah.
it's already a little bit traumatizing just to deal with 9/11.
Yeah.
And then you're going to use your First Amendment right at January 6th, like many of us did. And it breaks my heart, seeing them all come out. They all seem to be in good spirits when we saw them, at CPAC, and when, Sarah and some of the ones we know around here. But there's a
don't know-
little
you
piece of
don't-
them that's broken.
Yeah, you
they
don't
gotta
know what they're going through when
No.
they're by
No.
themselves.
No, but
No.
I think
Yeah.
that history will prove that these were
Oh, yeah.
patriots that were standing up
Absolutely.
for the rights of
100%.
not just
100%.
themselves, but for their
Yeah.
kids, for all Americans. I mean, look at Martin Luther King. He was arrested 29 times.
Yep.
So, I mean, now we have a
Sometimes
day
you
that
have to
celebrates
So was
That's
Nelson
right.
Mandela. He would have been
Yep.
considered a terrorist. So.
Yeah, it's an honor. I'm really excited. We are going to be doing an event here. I believe it's going to be a 2-day event in the coming months where we will have all the J6ers on. It'll be great to have everybody here and know they have a home here, that they're always welcome at. And it was a lot. It was even like wrapping up the J6 house. There's a house that was in D.C. for, Mickey and Nicole and some of the J6ers to be able to come to when they had court cases and come support. And this is kind of like a full circle, it came full circle now because this is it. This
Yeah.
is the last week that they have the house.
Right.
It was bittersweet, and I especially for Mickey, because it really dawns on me now that these guys got pardoned and are coming out, and her daughter's not coming back. So she was a little emotional on Sunday. It was a sad, I'll say see you later, and not goodbye. But it was beautiful, and so many good things came out of this trip. And this week, Nicole and Guy Reffitt will be stopping down here in Long Island before they head back home. And Guy was the first J6er that was arrested. And I have to tell you something. I only spent maybe 10 minutes with him on Sunday, and there's just something very special about that man. I don't know if that's why God chose him first to be, arrested. And his attitude, his spirit, his warm lovingness about him, like, I just fell in love with him, and I'm really excited he's coming down before they leave.
Where do they live?
They're in Texas.
They're in Texas.
Yep, and he wants to come on the podcast. And, he said we can talk about even his son. His son was the one who turned him in.
Right.
And he did send a beautiful message out to his son that, when he's ready, despite all that happened, he's there, ready to develop a new relationship with him.
beautiful.
And I really just pray for their family, and I'm honored to know them. So it was awesome, and a little bittersweet at the end, but really, really cool.
You had a chance to meet Lara Logan.
We met Lara. I got to meet Lara Logan.
Yeah.
Thank
And
her in
thank her.
person. I'm in love with her. She's this beautiful, like larger than life, brilliant woman. She was so sweet. And
We did give the control room a picture of you and Lara if they want to pull it up.
yeah,
I
this
think
was
it's asset too. Oh, there
There it
you are.
is.
this
There
was
it
day
is.
3 when I looked exhausted. And she's
Great.
beautiful and
Great.
stunning.
You and Brett.
She's just awesome. And she did say, I did invite her on the podcast, but she did tell me that until she gets with Gary first, she said, I gotta get on a podcast with Gary first before I do anything with you guys or he'll kill me. So I said, fine.
But you
can.
thanked her for-
But I did thank her. I said to her, listen, I said, you shared out a post for us and we got so many extra views and we really can't thank you enough. And she was very sweet about it. So thank you, Lara.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
We got 38,000 views on last week's podcast on X. So
Yeah,
thank you, Lara.
that was just on X.
Yeah.
So it was really incredible. And then Tom Holman sharing
Yeah.
it out while we were live. I thanked him the next day and he wrote me back,
amazing.
which is crazy
Yeah.
to even say out loud.
I know.
I just
Very
texted Tom
humbling.
Holman and he wrote me back. I mean,
big deal.
Not for nothing. When he texted, I saw his name come back up on my screen, I kind of got a little like fangirl. I was like, Tom, we were going to DC and I'm like, he texted me back. Or he's like, what did you think he was going to do? Like, you texted him, obviously he's going to write you back. I mean, I thought he was busy, like maybe border czarring or something, but
deporting the
Did
locals.
you see any of our local Long Island homegrown favorite people while you were down there that are just been confirmed for
Who's
some
Long Island?
positions?
So Cash wasn't there. Tom was there. Tom's a New Yorker.
What about Dan?
Dan?
Dan's a
Dan.
New Yorker.
Oh, Dan Scavino, that was awesome. Scavino?
No, Scavino.
Oh, no,
No,
Bongino. Bongino wasn't there, but Scavino's a New York boy, and he spoke at CPAC, and he's one of my all-time favorites, and
I
he
love
never
him.
speaks.
All the good ones are from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But there's
Tell
this
it like it is.
different kind of backbone, that New Yorkers have. So, no, I wish Bongino and Cash was there. I really, really was thinking that Trump was going to come out with Cash and let the crowd go crazy,
Yeah.
but Daddy Trump came out by himself, and the crowd went crazy, and I'm still trying to figure out what his pink tie meant. But if any of you have an idea, let me know. But
You
yeah,
and the symbolism always.
there's always
Right.
symbolism. There's always symbolism. All right. I'll say the disclaimer. My views don't represent all of us up here, but
Well, they kind of represent me.
They do. I know I can speak for Andrew when it comes to that.
That's right.
And you guys are so close.
Yeah, for
you guys
most
are so
of us.
close to believing all this stuff. But
Watching closely.
Listen, I say all the time, Jesus Christ knocks on my door. I'm not shocked.
no. And guess what?
What about
We've been
JFK
waiting for
Jr.?
you.
Oh,
the
that's
whole
happening.
time.
Noah was a conspiracy theorist too.
is very
Okay,
true.
until it rained. Okay, so
right.
it's biblical.
That's true.
Being a conspiracy theorist is biblical. I'm just doing my part. So
Well,
yeah.
do you want to touch quickly on the confirmations this week that we were
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
about? Because those are our local folks here, right?
Yes.
We got Cash Patel.
Cash Patel.
Oh,
FBI
get rid of those
director.
government gangsters.
And nobody wants to talk about DEI. They're mad we got rid of it, but nobody wants to celebrate the first Indian
Yeah.
FBI
That's
director.
Yeah, right. Who
right.
who got this on merit?
That's right.
This was on merit, not DEI.
Well,
It was on
no,
merit.
According to Adam Schiff, he's not qualified.
Adam Schiff. Okay.
Same thing with Dan Bongino. I
You
mean,
know what,
he's-
Adam Schiff? I invite you to the Patriots
Well, he's just
podcast.
mad
And, you
because
can come
he's
tell
the
us
one
that, and we'll
figuring
talk
out
about it.
Russia
Talk it out.
collusion.
That's right.
Hello.
This is why.
I'm back.
If any of you want to vote to have Crystal back, let us know on our social media because we're trying to coerce her to come back.
Yeah, Dan Bongino. They've been,
That's Angie's favorite.
I love him.
Angie
I love
loves
him. I love
Bongino.
him. I love him. I was listening to him yesterday tell the public that, that he's going to be leaving, that he is now going to be the number 2 in the FBI, the deputy.
Oh my God. Oof, it's
director
gonna
of
be
the
so
FBI,
good.
and that he has CNN and MSNBC. He has no experience, and you're like, wait.
He has a.
Are we
decorated
talking about the
resume.
same person?
He
Yeah,
was a New York
his
City
resume is
cop.
amazing.
He was a Secret Service agent. Where's the no experience coming from? So it's exciting.
Not to jump the gun, but I can't help but say this. So you think they're going to release Epstein's list right before the Oscars? I'm hoping.
The timing of that would be impeccable.
It would be impeccable.
Like an hour before they're getting ready, they're like, "Shit, I can't go."
Don't worry, we'll
Suddenly, everybody's dropped from
FBI shows
know.
up. Oh yes,
Bird
SWAT
flu.
team.
They all have
Down
bird
the
flu.
door.
That would be
On the
epic.
red carpet.
No, this is what is crazy. When they start dropping these lists, the world's not going to be. We've been trying to tell you. I've been trying to tell you for like 4 years now, so I'm not going to be surprised. But it's going to be awesome.
Well, I think we are going to go to another commercial
quick-
break,
We
and then
are.
we're going to come back and talk about something very near and dear to some of us sitting
yes.
at this table.
And kind of
The
local.
Culper Spy Ring. We've got some special surprises for you, so don't go away, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, many of you remember me as Hercules, facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. But today, I'm stepping into a different role. Not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you. Ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Welcome back to the Patriots podcast. So, I've been waiting to do this episode forever, right, guys?
Yes, she has.
It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time now, but today happens to be the perfect day because today, for those of you that don't know, is Benjamin Talmadge's birthday.
Yeah, he'd be like 350 years old by now.
Who's Benjamin Talmadge?
Oh, would you like to know, Angie?
I would.
Do tell.
So, Benjamin Talmadge was the leader of the Culper Spy Ring here in Long Island. He was also the first appointed director of military intelligence by General George Washington. He was a military officer in the Continental Army during the American Revolution. He was a spy master, and later on in life, he was a politician.
And he was also Nathan Hale's best friend.
And he was also Nathan Hale's
Spy
best
master
friend.
sounds so cool.
But
Which I
the biggest,
think-
you're
sorry,
you're
I'm
not
sorry.
letting
I'm
me
ruining
get out the
everything.
most
I'm
important
ruining
part.
For those who don't know, they're sisters.
This is my drop moment, and I've ruined it.
We're all
So-
sisters, but they're actually
We're
sisters.
actually sisters. So the most important part is I found out last April.
That's how long it was ago.
It
Wow.
was last April while I was researching my
wow.
ancestry that Benjamin Talmadge happens to be our 6 times great uncle. Which
How
is
cool are
really
we?
Wow.
Right, we're sitting with the American
Patriot
royal
blood.
family. just
Literally,
saying.
That's patriot blood right there.
Made this
That's
shirt.
right.
It says American royalty, and it's got a picture, which actually the control room, can you pull up a picture of Uncle Benny, Benjamin
Uncle Benny.
Talmadge?
We call him Uncle
We
Benny.
call him Uncle Benny. The military.
Not to be
Yeah,
confused
there
with the
he is.
rice.
Benny's Patriots.
Look at him.
Look at that
Look at
handsome,
handsome
fella.
guy. Is that him right here, right?
Wait,
Yes.
just so you know, he was also known for being the most handsome man on the battlefield. So
I mean, he
that's
doesn't look that handsome in that picture.
Maybe
where our
compared
looks
to the
came
people back then, he was.
But they do say he was the most handsome.
He
man.
dressed pretty fancy for battlefield.
his feather hat.
If I'm ever in battle, I'm
Quite the
dressing up fancy.
So, Uncle Benny, Benjamin Talmadge was our 6-time great uncle. His brother Samuel was our 6-time great grandfather. He was also he was a lieutenant in the American Revolution.
Continental. Whatever.
Yeah, in the Continental Army in the American Revolution. So she's my sister, so
Sorry.
she's trying to, yeah.
Sorry.
William, they had a few brothers, but William Talmadge was their eldest brother, and he actually was starved to death and died on a British prison ship called the HMS Jersey.
Like a prisoner of war, he
Like,
was, right?
He was
Yeah.
That's
War.
exactly what he was. He was a prisoner of war. The British took him during the Battle of Long Island. It was the Battle of Long Island that they, got because they won the Battle of Long Island, and they took our prisoners and put them on the HMS Jersey, and a lot of these prisoners were starved to death there.
And
Yeah.
then they would just dump him over the ship.
It actually had a
gosh.
a nickname called the Hell. Was
Ooh.
the name of the nickname of the prison was called the Hell because of how horrible it was.
It's horrible.
No civil rights back then.
None.
None.
No rights for anyone.
None at all. Yep. And Benjamin Talmadge also later on in life he married Mary Floyd, which is William Floyd, the signer of the Declaration of Independence, daughter. So,
Amazing.
And that's where we get William Floyd Parkway from?
and that's where we
That's
get
right.
William
Oh.
Floyd.
And the Floyd estate. William
Yeah.
Floyd
Wow.
estate.
And I
is
don't
out
think
there,
people
too.
realize how
No.
like, rich in history we are
No.
here.
No.
I,
Long
I don't
Island-
think I even did, to be
Long
And
honest.
even with
Island
Native American
had
history.
a major
It really-
role in the American Revolution.
Yes.
Major role.
Yeah.
I learned that from you guys.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I
No
learned
idea.
it from
So-
our family history.
Every kid in Long Island should be learning that in school, though, but whatever.
Yes,
Yes.
for sure.
Also, Benjamin Talmadge, he was the son of Reverend Benjamin Talmadge and Susanna, what was her name? Shoot,
Smith.
our great
No,
grandma.
not Smith.
Susanna Smith.
Yes.
Susanna Smith. It was Smith. Was it Smith?
Yes.
Oh, so you guys are holy, too.
Susanna
Yeah.
Smith.
Holy and patriotic.
So, but Reverend Benjamin Talmadge, he was the pastor of the Setauket Presbyterian Church, which still stands today.
That's crazy.
And it's also a cemetery. He's buried in it. Last year when we discovered this, me and Crystal, I mean, it's right in our backyard practically. It's a 5-minute drive. We went and we were able to visit our 7-time great-grandfather's grave, which
That's
is
amazing.
really, really incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to go.
Abraham Woodhull is also buried there. We'll get into him in a minute. He was one of the members of the Culper Spy Ring.
So wait, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
say one thing. One thing I love about the whole Culper Spy Ring is that when George Washington appointed him as the head of intelligence, he didn't feel comfortable using military because he knew there were traitors.
Yeah.
And which we'll get into later, but he also identified Benedict Arnold as a traitor. But
Well, explain to them that George Washington went to Benjamin Talmadge and asked him to put together a group.
yes, he
Yeah.
asked him to put together a group of spies. He didn't feel comfortable using military, so he used his childhood best friends. So I laugh because obviously we haven't been friends since our childhood, but
But you know I'd go with you.
think
It would have been
You
a
know I'm in.
ride or
the last
die.
4 years
I'm
with
in.
my best friends, like maybe we're not spies.
Not for
but
not. Wait a
we
minute.
did our best.
If you go to our group chat and somebody needs information on something,
This is very
you
true.
guys have it in like 20 minutes. We are spies. Okay?
I
They're
think
spies.
I'm a unpaid detective.
Seriously.
We're definitely
You guys need to know what's going on. You call the Patriots. We'll find out for you.
DM us. We got you.
But I just love that he used the people that he grew up in,
Yeah.
grew
Well,
up with, and
trusted
trusted
circle.
them.
A
Yeah.
trusted,
Trusted them.
sacred
Yes.
circle.
Yeah.
No one's going to be more ride or die than that.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
amazing.
That's right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you want to
love that
talk
too.
about the members of the Culper Spy Ring?
Well, there was, hello.
There you go.
Hello. There was Abraham Woodhull.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Benjamin
Benjamin
Talmadge.
Talmadge.
There was Caleb Brewster, which honestly, I don't know. So there's also a show about this. I don't know if anybody has seen it. It's called Turn Washington Spies. So after watching the show, honestly, I related mostly, I identified mostly with Caleb Brewster because he's like a pirate, and I think I'm a pirate. Robert Townsend, right? Of
Yeah,
Oyster
Robert
Bay.
Townsend of Oyster
And
Bay.
Anna Strong, which, I mean, we'll get into that, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's 355.
355. So the Culper Spy Ring was a group that Benjamin Talmadge put together to
Here on Long Island.
here on Long Island.
From
There were all his
Setauket.
friends from
Setauket.
Setauket to what's the word I'm looking for? To
Spy on
to
the
spy
British.
on the British. Yeah.
Collect intel.
Simply
collect
put.
intel. Thank you. Yes, to collect intel against the
Wait,
British.
so I also have to say this. Like, it's really crazy. Like, if you don't believe in God, first of all, you're nuts. But, like, the divine
Which she said.
intervention that has come with all of this, the fact that we just found this out a year ago.
Yeah.
I've been wearing a 1776 necklace for 3 years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds? Now, again, this is all in our backyard. Our house faces a main road. On that main road, down the road from us, probably about a mile down the road, I
Yeah.
would say, maybe a mile and a
Yep.
half, is a stone that is a memorial for Benjamin Talmadge, and I believe the date was November 30th.
It's
seven-
1777. That was the burning of the hay in Coram.
Yes, so it was Benjamin Talmadge and 12 other patriots came to a spot near there, which is, again,
I'm sorry.
a
It was
mi-
1780.
seven-
1780.
1788,
It was
but
1780. I
whatever.
know for a fact.
Anyways, the whole point was he came there with 12 other patriots and set 300 tons of the British hay on fire so they wouldn't survive the winter. So that was a big reason that
Yep.
made a lot of the.
Don't give me any
British
ideas,
leave.
Crystal.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is Uncle Benny trying to tell us?
I think I'm hearing
And the
something.
way that they would deliver these messages was invisible ink. They had invisible
Yes.
ink that George Washington supplied them with, and they'd put this agent on it that, once they put the agent on it, they could see.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like
and-
on National Treasure, if
Yes,
you've ever watched
they
that.
all
It's that-
had-
It wasn't like Crayola Invisible.
No,
That was the
no.
invention of
No.
invisible ink.
They all had aliases, and they also had codes.
Numbers, right?
So
Yes.
Oh, like symbolism?
yeah, like symbolism. 721 was
Uncle Benny.
Uncle Benny. Uncle Benny's code.
7-Eleven was George Washington.
But I wanted to show them my
Oh,
721
yes.
necklace.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
That was
Crystal
from
bought
me.
me this 721 necklace that I don't take off because I love Uncle Benny. 711 was George Washington. 355, they believe, was Anna Strong. I don't remember Abraham Woodhull's code. It's in here somewhere.
Well, he was also known as
Samuel Culper Jr.
No.
No,
Samuel
see-
Culper Jr. was Townsend, Robert Townsend.
Okay, and it was Samuel Culper Sr. was Woodhull.
Yes.
And Uncle Benny's alias was John Bolton. George Washington didn't have one. So it was pretty cool. They had all these code
And
names.
what's crazy is this was hidden for so long. It was only discovered in like the 1920s. That the Culper Scott-
1960s, 30s, 19...
No, it was like the 20s, 30s.
It
is
was
when they
hidden
first-
forever.
It was
How-
hidden
how
in
it-
an attic in Oyster Bay.
I was going to say, how was it discovered?
Yeah. It was, I believe, the Townsend family, one of the relatives.
It
of the
was
Townsend.
discovered through the Townsend family, yes. I forget the gentleman's name that discovered it.
awesome.
But then I guess Uncle Benjamin, I should stop calling him Uncle Benny.
Call him
for
Uncle
this.
Benny.
You can call him Uncle Benny.
He's your
People
uncle.
are
Uncle
listening, they
Benny's
get it.
family did
He's
put
all
out
uncles.
a memoir of his. I guess they found,
Yes.
you know, notes and books that he had saved over the years, but they hid it so much because they were afraid
Yeah.
that the British government, you know, the British, the king at the
Well,
time,
because even though
Retaliation.
we won the war,
retaliate.
Death.
Even their descendants, they were afraid.
well,
Yeah.
because even though we won the war, there were still loyalists here. So
Yes.
they were worried that they would come after their families.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds
right.
like modern times.
Yeah,
it
it
sounds like
does.
history's repeating itself.
Yeah, kind of like a
Except
little
we're not
lawfare
afraid. We're
then,
on the
yeah.
front
Seriously.
lines like, come at me.
Well, that's what my brain's going a million miles a minute right now.
So Anna Strong, what she would do, her
Oh, yeah.
her role in the Culper spy ring was, you want to,
So she had a clothesline, and she would. Sorry, I can't. My
Pull it
mic's
out.
falling out. She had a clothesline, and depending on what handkerchief she would hang and what petticoats, depended on what harbor they were meeting at.
yeah, that
To
they
give
could,
information.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you
Yeah,
could
because they were all
go
totally their
here
cell
and
phones
look
at
it.
home.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is there's a whole museum about it right in Setauket.
They do the Culper spy walk. You could go and walk through.
I know, you ladies did that, right?
Yes, we
I,
did
would,
that.
I wanted
So
to be able to
do-
go with you,
They
but
do
I
a
couldn't.
walk,
have been
they
here.
do a bicycle tour, and they do a
kayak, which is really cool. I wanted to do the kayak, but it was sold out last year,
Yeah,
so we'll try
yeah.
it this year.
We should
Oh,
probably get tickets
definitely.
now.
Definitely want
Yeah.
to do it.
Let's all go.
Definitely.
wanna go.
That's
Totally.
such, it's just like such history in your family.
And today is the
There's
birthday.
so much,
today is
so
an
much.
actual birthday,
Today
right?
is
Today is
225?
his actual birthday.
I
yeah?
said, I'm like, I wonder if he's still getting Social Security checks. Because if so, I want my reparations.
Yeah, I feel like someone owes us land.
Elon.
So Shannon, let me ask
Yeah.
you, what like prompted you to like dig into this?
It's actually a very funny story. Years ago, what prompted me initially...
Trying to prove we were Jewish.
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah. What prompted me initially to look into my ancestry was to prove my aunt wrong.
Yeah.
I won't say which aunt, but I was always
Kathy.
convinced that. Oh my God.
I'll say it, but she will.
I've been sipping on bourbon.
Oh, damn.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Throw
I
everyone
was
under
always
the bus.
convinced we were Jewish. My great grandmother's name was Sadie Lesser.
My great-grandmother's name was Sadie.
No way.
I swear
I
it was.
bet you
I
she
had
was
a,
a Jew,
I had a
too.
Tanta Sadie aunt.
That would be a whole new twist.
That's why I initially started looking into
very
it. Then I
German name.
discovered that we're 16% Jewish, which is we're much. So we're like the United Nations. We have everything in us, but it was our third biggest thing. So I was like, ha, I was right. I knew I was right all along. And then, over the years, I would check it from time to time because it more was added to it
So
over
it
the
was,
years.
it was genie.com, right? I
Yeah.
believe?
So
Oh, right. The
last
more
year-
people that do their DNA
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, it updates.
Yeah.
It updates.
So last April, I don't know, I was bored. I was sick of fighting the government. I was like, oh, let me go just check into my ancestry again because my grandfather, who I'd never met before, my paternal grandfather, Sheldon, was in the Army. So I thought, maybe I could find something on him. So I start going down the list, and I got to my four-time great-grandmother.
And by this way, she was just clicking on
I'm just-
grandparent
yeah.
after grandparent after grandparent.
So I got to my four-time great-grandmother, Carolyn Elizabeth Talmadge, and I saw the name Talmadge, and I was like, that's interesting. Why do I know that name? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, why do I know that name? And it clicked, and I was like, Talmadge. I was like, no way. Like, there's no way. So I was like, let me just look it up and see if his name really is Talmadge off of my memory I was going. So I looked it up, and I was like, no. So I started clicking a little further, and then I got to her father, John Talmadge. And then I clicked a little further, and then I got to his father, Samuel Talmadge. And then I see brother of Colonel Benjamin Talmadge.
Wow.
And then there's also a marker. What are those called? What are those called? The markers.
The mile markers?
Yeah, so Samuel was buried in after the war. He had moved to
Upstate.
Charleston, New York. It's like Montgomery County, I believe it is. And there's a marker where he's buried. So I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, why would this Samuel character have this marker there? And then that's what prompted me to look to see if he was related. And sure enough, it was his brother. And I was like, I ran
She
upstairs,
came upstairs
like
and
I won the lotto.
Oh my God, what's happening? She's like, you're not gonna believe who we're related to. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Tell me.
I remember
very
getting
cool.
the
Like, are they
text
Jewish?
too,
And
right?
what's even cooler is, I mean, we'll have to do another episode, but what's even cooler is I went back to then through Benjamin Talmadge. Our ninth great-grandfather was Thomas Willett, and he was the first mayor of New York City.
Get out of here.
And then our other ninth great-grandfather
Two
was
presidents too.
also through Benjamin, well, through the Talmadges. I want to say it's Reverend Benjamin Talmadge's mother. We are related to two U.S. presidents, both of the Harrisons. So I want
It's
to.
like the ninth president.
Yeah, it's
is
the
what?
ninth president, and so he was actually only president, I want to say, for like a month. He
he
ended up
died.
dying early
wow.
into his presidency. Yeah, and
Oh,
then,
yeah.
Republican, I hope.
Yes, yeah. Well, at the time, I want to say it was the Federalist Party, which
Yeah.
was the first.
I was gonna say
Well, yeah.
the Republican Party didn't
Wasn't
start
there
until
yet,
It was
yeah.
the Federalist Party, and that's
Yeah.
what Uncle Benny, after the war, he moved to Connecticut, Litchfield, Connecticut, and he became a congressman.
They sound like they were the Patriot Party, which is what we need
They
now.
are.
That's what
It's
they
really
were. They were
wild
the Patriot
because
Party.
then everyone in the family that I've looked up was either a senator, some kind of politician, and I went back pretty far. And one was the Speaker of the House. I didn't even know a Speaker of the House existed that long ago.
Okay, fine. I'll campaign for you guys. Who's running? Which one of you are running?
We keep. I want her to run,
I
but
don't want to. Nobody wants me to.
I don't want to run,
have
but I
no
just don't like
filter.
anyone that's running. So I think at some point I'm going to be forced to.
Well, I mean, it's in your genes.
I know. It is.
You got to like keep the family legacy going.
I've been told I mean, I think we all have over the last few years, people tell you like, oh, you should run for something. And like, I tell them all the time, I don't want to run. I just want to get the right people into office
Yeah.
and then hold them accountable.
Yeah.
I also
For
think we're more
everything that
powerful this way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've
You do get a
retracted
little
from that.
shackled, right?
You
I
do.
mean, you do
Yeah.
get a little shackled, but
I
we
even
still
felt
need
that
to
with the
Like
keep
the
school
up.
board.
devil's den, like it's not something I want to deal with. I think no matter what, on some level, corruption grabs a hold of you.
It's dirty.
Yeah.
It is
It's
dirty. It
Even
is.
if you're integral, it's politics and
Yeah.
politics.
Exactly.
And it gets dirty,
Well,
no matter
the,
what.
the reason I wanted to do this episode and speak about the Culper Spiring, not only because Benjamin Talmadge is our great uncle, but also because most people think that in July of 1776, that was it, right? We won the American
Yeah.
Revolution, and
I
that was
did.
it. I mean, you talk to
Fireworks
most
went off and
people-
we were free.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're
You
done.
know,
4th of
they
July.
don't realize that, in
Which,
July,
by the way, the Declaration of Independence was actually signed on Shannon's birthday, not on July 4th.
Yep.
It was July 2nd.
July 2nd.
Yeah.
It
So-
was
so
I did
published.
know that.
probably
and it wasn't in
am
1770.
made for this.
It wasn't. Yeah.
But finish what your thought
Sorry.
was.
So my thought was, on July 4th, or July 2nd rather, 1776, they declared their freedom. They declared their independence from Great Britain. But that doesn't mean that the king was like, okay, you're
Yeah,
free.
you're done, Right. yeah.
You know, what most people don't realize is at that time, New York was being controlled but the British had started taking over New York. And that's when George Washington went to Ben Talmadge and said, okay, we got to come up with a plan because otherwise we're going to lose this.
Well,
You know, and that's why the coal perspiring was such an important part of us ultimately winning the American Revolution, because what ended up happening was they discovered that Benedict Arnold
Yeah.
was a traitor, and he was going to give the British intel about West Point.
Yep.
West Point, which West Point at the time was like a fortress,
yeah.
around the Hudson. That it was basically the headquarters of the Continental Army, and he was going to let the British come in and basically ambush the Continental Army. And it was discovered because John Andre, he was the equivalent of what Benjamin Talmadge was for George Washington. John Andre was a director of intelligence for the British, and he ended up getting caught by three Patriots, and they found messages in his boots that exposed the whole plan.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to, I forget exactly who wanted to release him, but Ben Talmadge said, absolutely not. We cannot release him. He will go back and he'll,
Right.
this will all be
Destroy us.
exposed. And
Right.
exactly.
So didn't George Washington credit Ben Talmadge and the coal perspiring with
Yeah.
winning ultimately the revolution?
There's
Yeah,
a quote
turning it
by
around.
I can't remember his name, but it's a famous British general during that time that said that George Washington didn't outbattle us; he outspied us.
Wow.
And that
And what I want to make note of too, it's like the 3% of the population, in 1776, or how a small group can really do so much. Like the people that you named, was that
Grassroots.
really?
They were
Yes.
Was it that
grassroots.
little amount of people in that spiring?
6 that
Well,
are known.
no. There's six
were the main players?
that are the main
Yes.
players, which I honestly believe because our great grandfather Samuel was a lieutenant in the Continental Army, that he was part of it as well. I honestly.
That's
believe that,
amazing.
yeah. Because why
Wow.
wouldn't he be? And it said that they believe that because the British came in and took over, they took over my great grandfather's church, the Setauket Presbyterian
Yes.
Church.
So,
the British, go ahead.
I know we're short on time, but I do want to
No,
bring
go
this
ahead.
up.
We
The
can go
first
over it. It's
time
our-
we
it's our
had
show.
gone there, I was in the middle of watching the show, the Turn, Washington Spies, and we were looking for our great grandfather's wife, Caroline.
No.
Whoever Reverend Talmadge was married to at the time, because
I know, we're
her
terrible at this.
tombstone
Susanna
wasn't there.
Smith.
That's a lot of information.
It wasn't there. And all of a sudden it occurred to me that the episode I had watched the night before was the reason why was because she died before the war broke out. And the British, when they took over the church, they were using tombstones as barricades. They were ripping them out of and
Yeah,
the
so-
townspeople were going crazy
my
because they were
gosh.
ripping their families' tombstones out.
And
Wow.
that's why we
Wow.
believe we couldn't find our tombstone, which would make the most sense.
Right,
you know?
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's really crazy. And
All
then
in our backyard.
Right.
Yeah,
right here.
right here in our backyard.
here.
And the
Never would've
church
thought.
across the street was another church that stood during that time, right? There's a musket, right? Was
Oh,
it?
yes, there was a bullet hole in the church that they have
Wow.
like framed
Yeah.
from a musket.
From a musket.
What's the name of the show again, and where can people find it?
It was AMC did it.
Sorry.
It was
Yeah.
Turn Washington Spies.
It was great. And
You
I'm
can
not.
get it. I bought all the seasons because obviously my uncle.
I actually wrote the writer, and he wrote me back.
Oh, and
Oh, yeah,
I wish I
Brian,
had the
too.
picture, but
Alexander.
when we went to the Patriot Awards this year, Brian Kilmeade was there, and he wrote a book about Washington's Secret Six, and he signed my book. So I actually
my
have
gosh,
it
that's
on
awesome.
stage, but
Yeah, we have
So
another
fun.
book up here. This is Uncle Benny's memoir, which I encourage a lot of people to read and learn about this. And I pray that honestly one day that this belongs in our history
Sure
books.
it does. Absolutely.
We all grew. I never
never-
knew this growing
I
up.
never heard of it.
Neither.
No.
it's right here. It's
And
right
I
here.
learned about it in 2020.
By
and that-
accident.
Yeah.
Well, I learned about it in 2020 just because I was learning a lot in 2020.
Oh yeah, right.
A lot of rabbit holes
Yeah,
in
a lot
2020
of
for all of
rabbit
us.
holes. And then I learned in 2024 that it's my family. But I also want to talk about, because I know we're short on time, and I hope we covered everything. I tried to really get to the main parts of everything. But
I think you
again,
did a great job.
Look it up. It's really fascinating. It's right in our backyard. But I became friends with this guy on social
Well, I
media.
also want to give a shout
ahead.
out because if it wasn't for Margot, my girl Margot,
We all love Margot.
Yeah, so she for Christmas got me this beautiful basket with this liquor in it, and I was like, oh my god, it's
Because
this
she
family
knew.
freedom on it.
It's the Spy Trail vodka.
So
I
it's
just-
a local distillery, right? Is that what you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're right. They're actually right here, right in Ronkonkoma. It's a husband and wife. They're great.
Which they've been trying to meet up over the weekend, and today, T, you have to tell the story.
I couldn't meet. We couldn't find plans to meet up, and
I will tell the story. I have to say though, I love
Give me
this.
some.
Our tagline here is faith, family, and freedom, and it's on this bottle. I love that. We were Tuesday's a crazy day here in production all day, and in between that we're in meetings all day, and we're in like later part of the day, and some gentleman walks in with a bag, and he's like, alcohol delivery for Shannon, and I'm like, are you DoorDash?
I said,
Or
or
are
an
you like the
angel.
alcohol fairy? I don't he was like, I was like, oh. He's like, it's bourbon and vodka. I'm like, it's not tequila. I was very confused. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, my friends, I didn't know what was happening. So then he began to tell me that he's, local distillery
Patriots.
and
It's
called
Patriot.
Spy Trail Distillery.
He loves this place, so it's just awesome that he got to come here and see this place. And
His name is Mark Grindle.
Hold up, Shanny.
yep, Mark Rindell.
Hold it up, Shan. Hold it up.
Hold it up.
Here it is.
So you guys can
And it's
see.
great that he's
beautiful.
doing an
Look at this
ode.
beautiful
And,
bottle.
and honestly, it's
Spy
delicious.
Spy Trail Distillery, Long Island, New York. It looks like right now these are their two products, the whiskey and the
I
vodka.
think they have another one. That I could-
So before
So-
we have a toast,
Yeah, so we're gonna toast.
I
for
just
Uncle
want to
Benny's
know,
birthday.
Shan,
What?
do you feel like sharing the message that you got?
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Because I think that's critical to us
Yeah.
today.
I do too.
Yeah.
So over the weekend, since I discovered that Uncle Benny's our uncle, I've been thinking like, first of all, like why me? Like why did he? We have a lot of family, right? Tons of cousins, aunts, and uncles. Why did he
We're the only
expose
Patriots,
himself to
though.
me, so to speak? Obviously, it's probably because I'm the one that's been in this fight, right?
Shan.
I mean, her too.
Reveal.
Reveal. So
Selfish.
reveal, not exposed, because exposed sounds dirty. Yeah, thank you. So he revealed himself to me, but I kept thinking, like, there's got to be a bigger message that he's trying to tell me because I'm weird and I speak to dead people. And it hit me like a ton of bricks the other day. And I text the girls and I was like, I cracked the code. And they were like, what are you talking about? Which code? I'm like, I cracked the code. I know the message that he's trying to deliver to me. And the message was that, everyone thinks because President Trump is in office now that everything is fine and we're going to be okay. But the fact of the matter is that New York, if we do not continue to fight,
The state is done.
the state is done.
And so will eventually go the country, I think.
yes, and so will eventually.
We're ground zero.
Yep.
on my
And
first
just
day
like
back.
in 1776, when they thought, we're going to declare ourselves free from Britain, and that's it. No, the war went on until 1980, 1983.
They're wearing neon on the.
1783, from 1776 to 1783, and I guess my point I'm making is it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the same
Keep
thing
fighting.
here.
The parallels,
Keep fighting,
Keep fighting.
because just because President Trump's in office doesn't mean that we're okay and
We're
we
not.
have to, we're safe.
Definitely not New York.
Especially not New York.
This is just the beginning.
That sounds like
The
somebody who
people
has
declared
Patriot
their
blood.
will,
Yeah.
and now we have to follow through with the
right.
rest
so
of
the
the
message
action.
was New York, the same way New York had to fight in 1776.
We have to fight
is the
now.
same way New York has to fight now.
Faith,
Right.
family, freedom.
That's right.
Yep.
Cheers to that.
I love it.
Cheers to
Cheers
that,
to
and
Uncle
happy
Benny.
birthday, Uncle Benny.
Happy birthday. Do we still close with the saying?
Yes,
Well,
we
we
do.
got, we got to pray.
Oh, we gotta
too.
pray.
We gotta
Uncle
pray.
Benny and the Talmadge
Cheers,
family.
cheers. Who's leading prayer?
Donna.
Donna does.
Who else would lead prayer on this panel?
Robert Walters.
That is
Smooth.
delicious.
It really is.
It really is.
That is delicious.
It is. All right.
All right, ladies.
All
Hold
right.
hands.
Thanks for sharing that, you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Thanks for listening.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for another week filled with opportunity to learn, to grow, and to seek and share truth. Thank you for what we learned here today. We look to history, recent and old, and recognize that many have sacrificed to uphold earthly justice and to fight for freedom. We understand that freedom is inherently ours and it is given by you, and that the law is written as a guide for our moral society. God, we just ask, we implore, we beg you to embolden and protect those rising in this day to do what is needed, just as our ancestors and predecessors did. We pray that it is all done from a foundational principle, that it is our duty to fight for righteousness from a place of love, not hate. Help us remember that the battle begins and ends in the Spirit, and may you alone be glorified by it all. Amen.
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 And as always, keep your faith strong, your family close, and your freedom alive. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Tune in Tuesdays. We'll see you next week. God bless.
God bless.